Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing and football SOP selections for Sunday, the 26th of October. Well, we had a 10 or 11 to 1 winner in Zurich, a placed horse, then unfortunately not a great deal after that. It returned, I think, a, about a third of the stake, I think it was for the horse racing. Um, I did have a little bit each way, but it still wasn't enough to make a profitable day, but obviously, clearly it's not. Not when only one wins out of six selections. It offered a nice cash out, but I didn't take it. So these are the selections for Sunday at Aintree. So some very interesting selections. I shall go through them. So what I've done is I've placed the football bet, the SOP, and then I've used basically what's left over in my account. I think it's about £9 10p. So I've had an each way patent, and the rest was just a £1 5p each way treble. So the first selection is Heather Honey at 4 to 1 in the 1240 at Aintree. This is the second favourite. I've looked through, this is a bit of a tricky race, but I've looked through the entire race, obviously. Um, there are a couple of dark horses, but they've just not quite got enough going for them. Heather Honey is the obvious selection, in my opinion. I'm not really too keen on the Philip Hobbs horse because I think it's going to be quite well backed, but it's based on its chase form. And some might say, yeah, but it's actually really well in based on its hurdle form. Well, it didn't do a great deal over hurdles, and I'm not expecting it to do a great deal over hurdles when it's bred for fences. So I'm going to rule that one out based on that. I've seen it happen too many times where people have got carried away with a horse having a really low hurdles mark and a very progressive and high chase mark, then reverting back to hurdling. And a lot of the time, it doesn't really materialise. There's a reason why it's got a much lower hurdle rating. It's because it's bred for fences, and it's progressed over fences. But when it's reverted back to hurdles, it might look well in, but it's too fast for it, or it's you know what I mean. Its hurdle mark is normally accurate because it isn't a hurdler. It's been bred for chase fencing, and I do believe that Heather Honey is one of the more obvious contenders. And to me, it looks like it's been kind of like laid out for this race. It's been generally running from midfield and making ground in its races and running well. In its last race, it was over 2 mile 4. Not because I think it wants 2 mile 4. I think it was given a bit of a blowout. It was coming off a bit of a layoff. 2 mile 4, and it was a slight change, only a slight change of tactics. It raced prominently over 2 mile 4, which you're running slightly quicker per furlong. I think that was like to get it fine tuned for possibly this race. I'm only trying to second guess what the trainer's doing, and I think it'll be probably reverting back to the same tactics where it won't be prominent, but it won't be held up. It's like slightly better than mid division, and I think personally, I think Aintree on good ground, it can get quite tested there because it's a flat track, so it can encourage you to go a bit quicker than you should be doing. And a lot of times in that long straight, they can be hanging on for dear life. I do believe you need to make your move around the home bend, but you can't go for home off the home bend, if you know what I mean. You need to be in a good position off that home bend because I don't think an awful lot of horses are going to be making a lot of ground up on that home bend. This one does stay. So this horse is bred to stay at least this trip. A lot of the Sue, I'm trying to remember her name is now, Sue Smith, Joel Parkinson horses are bred to be generally long distance chasers, and I think this, with it being a hurdle, it's a long distance hurdle. I think it's 3 mile. I think it's 3 mile. Um, it'll want every inch of the trip, and I think it's is it good value at 4 to 1? Well, it's probably at least going to come place. I'm a bit concerned about Bobby Dazzler. It's a very quirky individual, but I think on its day it can win this race. But I can't have a horse it didn't refuse to race, but it was unruly at the start and unseated at the start. It's not been right after its two runs after a wind operation, but if you go further enough back, you can give it a shout. There isn't. There is a few in there that could be a little bit dangerous, but I'm not trying to cover all angles. I am saying is I don't think those dark horses are going to probably give their running. So I've gone for Heather Honey, currently second favourite. Don't get me wrong, I could be completely wrong about the Hobbs horse, but I've seen it too many times, and for it to be backed into, I think it's been backed into 3-1 currently. I just can't have it. So the second selection is Spade Step at 2-1 in the 115 at Aintree. So this is Lucinda Russell and Michael Scudamore. I've looked at the breeding of this, and it's a half brother to Tommy Oscar or Tommy's Oscar. That horse was a decent hurdler, but took it the next stage. Only it could only actually really improve a few pounds after that because it achieved a mark of 150 over hurdles, and I think it got to about 155, 157 over chase fences. I think this horse is. I think they ran it over hurdles last time. It could well have been aimed at this race again. This decent prize money. I think it's about 11 grand. I do like the look of um, the skeleton horse. However, the fact that it won just in a two-runner race and now cheap pieces have been applied, I think it's got its quirks. I think this spade step, I would like to see it go straight to the front, pop the first few comfortably, and I think it will make them all go. We saw what Conman John did at Cheltenham yesterday. I think Lucinda Russell has got a right team now. She's surrounded by the Scudamores. You've got obviously Tom, Michael, Peter Scudamore, and then she was a decent trainer in her own right. I think just, the Scudamore seem to have taken it to the next level. Um, I really think they're going to be a stable to watch for, and I'll be well. I'm not telling you anything too much you don't really know, but I do think keep an eye out at the Cheltenham Festival on their handicap horses. I think there'd be a real operation. But I think Spade Step, it's bred to want a long way. It's bred for fences. It last ran over hurdles. It showed its well-being, won comfortably, and it won going away. And I just think if Spade Step goes to the front, it gets his confidence over the hurdles because it's his first time over chase fences. But you can guarantee that this horse has been schooled rid- a ridiculous amount. So hopefully it jumps because the entry fences, in my opinion, they do you have to jump them. You can't skim through the top of them. You can't take chances. If you make a mistake there, you're probably going to unseat rider. Not always fall, but unseat rider because you're going to peck on landing. So I do think if it can pop the first few, getting into a rhythm, I do think this one will take an awful lot of beating. And the final selection is If Not for Dylan at 4-1. That's in the 150 at Aintree. Once again, this is also a Lucinda Russell horse. I think once again, I think the Skelton have got a chance, but I just like it's not if not for Dylan. Sorry, um, I do believe it's another horse that could go to the front. It did look as though it was progressing nicely, but I'm not too sure how these veteran racers work. So don't quote me or I think you have to be a 10-year-old. I'm not sure, but they're all 10 or 11 in this race. I'm just wondering if they thought, hey, we've got a nice horse this year. We'll protect his handicap mark from last year by it running into a little bit of form, but then putting it away for this year and saving it for the veteran racers. So you've got a 10-year-old now that was running well last year, but it's also still off at 118. Um, I just think if you go back 2 years, it had got some very good form, but that was for Anne Hamilton. Then it was off for 18 months before Lucinda Russell acquired it. So I don't know what, honestly, I don't know what's going off there, but maybe they saw something in the horse. I think, don't quote me, I think they gave it a wind operation without me looking, and that was at the beginning of their ownership, and then it ran 3 times, gradually progressing, although stepping up massively in trip at the Perth meeting over 3 miles, 6.5 furlong, and it ran a decent race. And this horse, it seems to like to go from the front, and it makes them go. So if this horse was fit, which she started the season really well, Lucinda Russell, I see no reason why she would take an unfit horse, or I'm not saying it can be fully tuned up, but you would expect it to know its job. You would expect it to probably had a decent winter, um, a decent summer's worth of training, and I'm trying to give you some more reasons why I expect it to run well. I just think it's going to run well. So those are the three horse racing selections. So I'm going to go now to the SOP now because it's given these bets for today, and it hasn't given many selections. Right, give me a second. I have to adjust the screen. You've got the sky. Sorry, you've got the racing post in the background. I'm just going to. So it's given. Right, there you go. So today's bets are I think we're on something like 173, and it's 20% of that. So it's £34 something. Um, so it's a £20 win double. Arsenal and Bournemouth. You must place that bet where they get paid out on 2 goals or more. I think it returns about 50 something. £5.50 double. Both teams to score double. It's Aston Villa versus Man City and Everton versus Tottenham. Um, all the rest of these bets are the same match, so it's a £5 double. Both teams to score and Tottenham to win. Both teams to score and Man City to win. Then the final one is it's it's a £3 double over 2.5 goal double. Um, Man City. Let me just click on it because I'm sure I'll get it wrong because my memory is shocking, as you're well aware. £3 double over 2.5 goal double. Aston Villa and Man City and Everton and Tottenham. And then it's the same again. It's a £1.22 double over 3.5. And it's Everton and Tottenham and Villa and Man City. So those are all the selections. So I wish you the very best of luck. Please give me a like if you can. I wish you the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.